in other news, let's do this Pulp Fiction style. I will read the apology first, and then you guess what controversy this is. All right. Golden State Warriors. All right, this is what they said. As a limited investor who has no day-to-day operating functions with the Warriors, Mr. Palihapitiya does not speak on behalf of our franchise, and his views certainly do not reflect that of our organization. What could make an NBA team completely and utterly disavow 10% owner of the most valuable franchise in the league? What could he have said? What could he have done wrong? It wasn't like that other Warrior owner that attacked Kyle Lowry. It wasn't that one. He's like out of the mix, I think now. 10% of the Warriors is now worth more than the Pacers. So this man, he's a real deal stakeholder now. We're talking Chamath Palihapitiya. And if there is one thing that you can speak about right this moment that is guaranteed to get the internet set ablaze, it's to talk about China, which is what he did, folks. Yes, he did. But he didn't just talk about China, right? It's not just like the global China, not like just my man Hong Kong Daryl, where he tweets out, we're on a trip to China. Oh, like reads a random Washington Post article. He's like, Jesus Christ, do you see what's happening to Hong Kong these days? Like he's a man of the world, Daryl Morey. Not like him, where he just puts out his tweet and then just moves on and then the world burns down around him. Like compound that, all of the ramifications that you remember. If you need to pause this podcast and come back to me and Google what all happened, just do that now. Take a pause. Welcome back to the pod. If you want to talk about a China ratio that was worse than that, I'll show you the ratio. This is what he said, my man. On a podcast, my guy, Chamath, was asked about, hey, like Joe Biden has condemned China for their human rights abuses. Why do you think his approval numbers aren't going up? And before the man can even finish the question, he jumps in and says this. Nobody cares. By the way, let's just pause this for a second, because if you don't know what's happening right now in China, let me give you a little primer, because you might not know. There's over 1 million Muslims in China right now being held in concentration camps by Chinese officials and the Chinese government. It is an orchestrated thing being done by those in power. You may not know this because it's really not much in the news for a reason, because it's China. I'm probably going to get canceled now. So they're asking this guy, hey, Biden, the Muslim group is called the Uyghurs. That's what they're called. Uyghurs. If you ever see that in the news, just know that's what they're talking about. Bunch of people, disenfranchised, genocidal type stuff, right? Okay. So they ask him, hey, Joe Biden came out, first time ever. Anybody's ever condemned China about how they're treating the Uyghurs. They're all in a concentration camp. Like, why aren't people responding, Chamath? As if, we give a fuck about what he thinks about political, approval numbers. But he's on this podcast, and before the man can even, get his statement out, this shit is wild. He says this, nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs. Okay. He said, if you're asking me, do I care about a segment of a class of people in another country? No, not until we can take care of ourselves will I prioritize them over us. Pause. No one said you had to make one more than the other. Can we walk and chew gum at the same time, Mr. Chamath, billionaire owner of the Golden State Warriors? He said this is where it gets even worse. Every time I say I care about the Uyghurs. Pause. How often is that? How often is that? He said, every time I say that I care about the Uyghurs, I'm just really lying. I am just lying. Fuck. I don't really care. And so I'd rather not lie to you people. So I'm going to tell you the truth. This is not a priority for me. What? I mean, I'm kind of speechless at this, truthfully. Like, I am a proponent of giving the world the cold, hard truth, right? But sometimes there's a line, and you need to just stop before this. This is where you're like, okay, because no one even asked him how he was feeling about the Uyghurs. They're asking about Joe Biden condemning what's going on in China. And then he's like, if you ask me, fuck them. If you ask me, let them die and rot in China, some random hole in the corner of God knows where. Let them die. I don't care. I'm worrying about my tax rate here in the United States. What? Excuse me? I think, I'm not sure what's going on here. Like, it's hard for me to follow how this all could have taken place. But, listen, I'm not following everything that's happening in the news right now because I've got an NBA season to follow. But I think the one thing we can all agree on is murder for no reason, concentration camps. I think we can all just agree that's pretty bad. Murder, bad. I mean, it's like pretty... I know that it's like a slippery slope politically right now, but I think we're still all there, right? We're still all there? Okay. And the wildest thing to me is that this guy, Chamath, is from Sri Lanka. A nation with its own little checkered past of human rights abuses. Current U.S. Department of State description of Sri Lankan violations right now. Just right now, today, I Googled this. This is the description of what's happening there. Significant human rights issues include unlawful killings by the government, torture in cases of cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment by government agents, arbitrary arrest and detention by government entities. I mean, the list goes on and on, but we will continue. Arbitrary and unlawful interference with privacy, restriction on free expression in the press, including unjustified arrests of journalists and authors, widespread corruption. Let's look, violence against women, trafficking in persons. Crimes involve violence targeting members of ethnic minority groups. Ding, ding, ding. Crimes involving violence against lesbians, gays, bisexuals, trans, and intersex persons. Right on you, government website. Like, that's very PC of you to have all these people included. And existence of use of laws criminalizing same-sex sexual conduct. Sheesh. I need a drink of water. And this is where this man is from, right? He was a refugee. And it's almost like he was. This is what it was. And it's almost like he says, meh. Listen, what immigrant hasn't had to escape from a country that participates in human rights abuses, really, if you ask them? Like, if you ask them, what do you think that they're escaping from? Right? Why would they be refugees if there wasn't shit like that going on? So fuck them. Fuck them. Listen. What's happening to the Uyghurs is just a Wednesday for me, baby, in Sri Lanka. And look at me now. I'm a billionaire. Pull yourself up by your fucking bootstraps, Uyghurs. Come on now. Escape like fucking Andy Dufresne, why don't you?
Why else do you have to?
Like what? Fuck those kids, basically. Like clockwork. We got a heartfelt apology, though, from our man Chamath, written by, I'm sure, a PR agency. And this is what he wrote, or this is what was written for him. In re-listening to this week's podcast, which he definitely didn't do, I recognize that I come across as lacking empathy. I mean, you think? He said fuck them. Fuck them. I do not care. And if I tell you I'm caring, I am lying. Yeah. As a refugee, this is what he says, as a refugee, my family fled a country with its own set of human rights issues, so this is something that's much part of my lived experience. To be clear, my belief is that all human rights matter, whether in China, the United States, or elsewhere. Full stop. And that's a lie. And that is a lie. I would have almost respected him on one level if he would have just come out and said, yeah, like, I still mean it. I meant it then. Fuck them Uyghurs. I stay fucking them Uyghurs every day. If you want to, like, take my ownership away, I'm standing on this rock. Listen, like, Daryl Morey said free Hong Kong, and I'm like, in prison, Uyghurs. Like, that's the opposite side of what Daryl Morey got in trouble for. Why are you coming at me? Like, I thought we were pro-China here. Like, I don't know. There's just no chance this apology is sincere at any level. So we've got, as a result of this, the NBA's version of a player that's the full thorn in the side of Adam Silver. His name is Enes Kanter, Enes Freedom now. I mean, this is how you know he's a thorn in the side. He's changed his name, so we have to call him Freedom. He tweets, when the NBA says we stand for justice, don't forget there are those who sell their soul for money and business, like Chamath, who's the owner of the Warriors, who says nobody cares about the Uyghurs. When genocides happen, it's people like this that let it happen. Shame. Well, no wonder Golden State decided to come after this guy Chamath. I'd be very surprised if he didn't maybe lose a piece of his ownership or lose his full court seats or something. I don't know. And also, did you know that Celtics games right now are still being banned from China? Like, no Celtics games being broadcast in China right now because of Enes Freedom right now. Just that's why. And also all Sixers games, because it's not about the Houston Rockets, which is what was initially banned. It's wherever Daryl Hong Kong Morey goes that's banned in China as well. So all that money that the Sixers would have gotten, now it is just a dead zone, black zone. Hong Kong Daryl. All of this to say, listen, there's a lot of issues right now that are untouchable. But the only one I can say will rile up both sides of the fence, conservative, like Ted Cruz has come out, Marco Rubio's come out now about this guy talking about the Uyghurs, like they give a fuck about the Uyghurs. Like, truthfully, they don't care. This is just all posturing. But if you want backlash from the left and the right, talk about this. Right. This is what you do. Like, conservatives, progressives, all of them hate anyone who takes any stance, I mean any stance, on anything related to China and what's going on there. And as someone who likes my job, that's all I gotta say about that.